I left everything behind and went to the mountains after my wife's betrayal. Have you ever wondered how you would react if everything you believed in crumbled all at once? In February, I discovered that my wife, whom I had been married to for 3.5 years, was cheating on me. The shock was devastating, leaving me without a foundation and completely lost. Every day was a struggle to maintain my sanity. The pain of betrayal consumed me, but little did I know that this painful experience would lead me to an unexpected new beginning. I don't know exactly why I'm writing this, but now that the events are over and I've moved on, maybe it will help someone. In February of 2018, I was 30 years old when I discovered my wife's affair, after we had been married for 3.5 years. I had a contract job that involved a lot of travel from time to time, but also allowed me to work from home when I returned. My wife had a very well-paid job as a director of a technical sales company. I would describe our marriage as very good, although things got a little tense with my work trips and her increasingly long working hours. I met my wife, now ex, 5 years ago at a friend's barbecue. We started talking and had instant chemistry, and honestly, I thought I was beating the odds by being with such a beautiful and articulate woman. Somehow, she really liked me for my somewhat rough personality. After a few weeks of dating, we couldn't be apart, and clothes would just fly off when we met at each other's apartments. Finally, we got married after dating for 18 months and moved into a large apartment while saving up to buy a house. After the first 3 years of marriage, things started to change. I was still crazy about her, but I noticed that she would start arguments over small things and get annoyed when I mentioned all the overtime and work outings that were becoming more and more frequent. She said it was part of the financial payback, since she was moving up the corporate ladder, or at least that was her excuse. She told me I had no right to question her, since I was also away for weeks at a time. I told her I could certainly manage reducing my travel hours. In fact, I was only taking trips of 3 to 4 days, every 5 weeks or so. These discussions were very circular and never had a resolution. Looking back, I had no idea my wife was in the middle of an affair. I would never have suspected anything, except for the continuous overtime at work and our dwindling sex life. I attributed it to her being tired of work. However, my ego had been bruised by being frequently rejected when I tried to initiate a move. I didn't see the secret messages she read, but then again, she had a company cell phone and could have been using it, since she spent a lot of time in our guest room, which she used as a home office. It was around September of 2017 that Kate started coming home from work and then going out for a work appointment in the evening. This went from 1 night a week to more than 3 nights a week. I'm not very jealous by nature, but there was no way she could go unnoticed, and I knew she would have to fend off some of the men in the office. She seemed only interested in work, but she worked more with male executives than female ones. My first suspicion that she was cheating occurred a month before D-Day. She stopped at the store before coming home. She asked me to help with the shopping. As I was grabbing some bags from the back seat of her car, I noticed something pink glistening under the front passenger seat. They were 2 of my wife's bras. I recognized them as hers, since she liked the ones that came from a specific clothing store. In retrospect, I now realize the reason for the red flag with the bra. When she was in the mood, she always took off her bra first, under her clothes. I don't know exactly why, but I instantly felt a sinking sensation in my stomach when I saw it. I couldn't rationalize what her bra was doing under the seat. I simply left it there under the seat. It almost made me feel sick, and my heart must have raced, because when I returned to the kitchen with the bags, Kate asked if I was okay and said I looked like I'd seen a ghost. I simply ignored her comment. I tried my best not to seem angry or betrayed, but I used all my strength to hide my feelings. That night and the next, I decided to see if I could find out if she was involved with someone or not. I started thinking about all the clues I was missing. I had no proof, except for the bra incident. We live in a relatively large city, and her work is in a commercial building downtown. I kind of took the focus off the idea of betrayal for a while and decided that maybe I should pay more attention to her. One Friday after work, I prepared a nice dinner, set the table with beautiful plates, silverware, and candles. I bought a good bottle of wine and a bouquet of roses. She came home after work as usual. I pointed to the dinner and everything I had prepared. She gave me a sad smile, said she was sorry, but had plans to meet her co-workers that night at a bar. She said she could eat a little with me before leaving, but needed to take a quick shower first. I think my insides churned, and I was completely speechless. I'm not going to describe the kind of anger I felt at that moment, but I'd finally had enough. While she was in the shower, I grabbed my company phone and put it in the back seat of her car. I'd been thinking about doing this lately as a way to track her location with my personal phone. I went and threw the meal in the trash along with the flowers. She came back after her shower, dressed and looking great as always. She said, "Okay, let's eat." I said, "Never mind, go out with your friends." She looked at me strangely and asked if I was angry. I said I was disappointed that she never wanted to do anything together. She got annoyed and told me to stop acting like a child. I said, "No, you're the child, acting like a teenager, and I'm tired of it." She told me I was being ridiculous and that she was leaving. I said, "Go ahead, but don't worry about coming back." She stopped at the door and looked at me. I said, "You heard what I said, don't worry about coming back." She said, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yes, I'm serious." She said, "You'll regret this." I said, "No, I won't." She left and slammed the door. I felt strangely calm. I knew I had done the right thing. I no longer had to deal with her betrayal. I no longer had to deal with her lies. I no longer had to deal with her disrespect. I was free. I went to my room and started packing. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I had to get out of there. I grabbed my laptop, my personal cell phone, my wallet, and some clothes. I left my company cell phone in her car. I knew she would find it and that she would know I was tracking her. I didn't care. I wanted her to know that I knew. I wanted her to know I wasn't an idiot. I left the house and got into my car. I drove aimlessly for a few hours. I was angry, sad, and relieved all at the same time. I finally stopped at a gas station and bought a map. I decided to go to the mountains. I've always loved the mountains. I've always felt at peace there. I drove for a few more hours until I reached a small town in the mountains. I rented a room at a motel and passed out on the bed. I slept for 12 hours straight. When I woke up, I felt a little better. I was still angry and sad, but the feeling of relief was stronger. I spent the next few days exploring the area. I hiked, fished, and just enjoyed the solitude. I didn't call anyone. I didn't answer any messages. I just focused on myself. After a week, I was ready to go back home and face the music. I knew I had to deal with the divorce and all the consequences. I drove back home. When I arrived, the house was empty. I found a note on the kitchen table. It was from my wife. She said she was sorry and that she loved me. She said she had made a mistake and that she wanted me back. I tore up the note and threw it in the trash. I knew she was lying. I knew she just wanted me back so she could continue cheating on me. I called a lawyer and started the divorce process. It was a long and painful process, but I was finally free. I sold the house, divided the assets, and moved on. I moved to a cabin in the mountains. I started a new job that allowed me to work from home. I was happy. I was at peace. I was free. But even there, she didn't stop following me. She called me, texted me, and even showed up at my cabin once. I ignored her. I blocked her. I avoided her. I knew she would never stop. She was a parasite feeding off my pain. I finally had to change my phone number and email address. I cut off all contact with her. I was finally free of her. I learned a valuable lesson from this experience. I learned that no matter how good a relationship seems, there is always the possibility of betrayal. I learned that trust is the most important thing in a relationship. I learned that if someone betrays you once, they will probably betray you again. I learned that it's better to be alone than to be with someone who doesn't respect you. I am happy now. I am at peace. I am free. And I will never let anyone hurt me like that again. The end.